Hello, hello, happy full moon. I wanted to pop into the group quickly with a little impromptu Facebook Live. I'll leave this Facebook Live up in the group for a couple of days, but I'm feeling really called to talk about the Akashic Records and how the Akashic Records can assist with our soulful feminine evolution at this time on the planet, especially if you're a woman who's really feeling the call to step into a bigger version of who she's being called to be. Feeling that next level of desire, right? What else is there? And it's that essence part of ourselves that is speaking to us, calling us into greater freedom of expression of the woman that we were born to be. So I want to talk about that, how the Akashic Records are such a brilliant tool when it comes to that, but specifically how the Akashic Records are such a brilliant tool when it comes to that in terms of our feminine evolution and what that can really look like. So I'm just going to pop my headphones in. Hey, so nice to see a few of you here. Hey, Wendy. I'm going to pop my headphones in. All right, so yeah, I want to try to share some wisdom here and also to keep it fairly succinct and in a nice time frame because I know everyone's so busy, but happy full moon. So it seems so appropriate to talk about the Akashic Records and our soulful feminine evolution. A lot of the work that I do teaches about flowing with the seasonal cycles, about working with the lunar cycles, and about feminine transformation and how when we follow the flow of it, it can really assist us in rebirthing ourselves anew over and over and over again. All right, so a lot of us are feeling that call. We're feeling that call to break free. We're feeling that call to really step into that bigger version of who we're being called to be at this time. This is a really important piece to look at, and it's really important to look at how we can really claim that for ourselves and how we can really initiate that and move that into flow so that we can manifest a reality that truly, truly honors who we are being called to be. So sometimes, especially right now, in just like the collective evolution, there's a few pieces that women often come up against. And I want to address that, and then I'm going to talk about the Akashic Records and how they really can support this process of untangling a lot of what many women are talking about. And when I talk about the feminine, the feminine also applies to the masculine. I just tend to work a lot with women around the feminine. So when we're talking about women and they're feeling that call and they're tapping into those desires and they're sensing more, a lot of what women come up against is a feeling of limitation. And sometimes they come up against a feeling of pain, that pain of suppression. So what we're really looking at this time in our collective evolution is the pain of suppression that is carried forward along our ancestral feminine lineage. Our ancient ancestral feminine lineage, all of the moments throughout our ancestral history where the women in our lineage didn't always feel supported in their truest expression, didn't always feel supported in showing up powerfully in a space of fulfillment, in a space where I've been feeling... I'm not sure, Wendy. I'm not doing any Akashic guidance today. That's tomorrow, and if maybe you want to pop in there, we can definitely do that. But in terms of where we're at now and this feeling of suppression and lack and limitation and how it's often being carried from our ancestral lineage, and women will really feel this sense of this heavy heart, of this feminine pain that can often be entangled through the ancestral lineage where women didn't feel fully supported in expressing their gifts and voicing their truth. So that's one aspect, and I'm going to talk about how the Akashic Records are such a beautiful, deep healing tool for untangling that. When also, too, I talk about the ancestral feminine lineage, and we always want to witness and celebrate and honor our ancestral lineage for the power of the women that came before us. But very often there is a pain of where they weren't able to fully express, a pain of where they couldn't take their desires or that soul level calling and make it happen in the world because of some of what they may have been coming up against in terms of the feminine in and society, the feminine within society, the feminine's role within society throughout our history. So that's one piece. And then also, as we talk about soulful feminine evolution, and I'm going to get into that piece, but even just talking about the feminine and soul, right? Our soul, especially from the Akashic Records perspective, is much older than this current experience. And the feminine has been rather suppressed throughout the last 5,000 years on the planet. And so we have often, just through different soul past experiences, had different experiences in terms of who we were as women, sometimes men, but oftentimes in our experience with the feminine and being a woman and the roles that we played, and where we may have experienced trauma, or where in the current situation, and that can play out in all kinds of ways. If we look at even the fact that up until now women have been not up until now, but up until maybe the last 100 years or so, women have been traded or bartered, right, in terms of marriage. And so there's lots of different ways that the feminine has been distorted or suppressed, or there's a pain around it. And so when we're talking about even just past life experiences, what often happens is within those experiences we are experiencing sometimes a certain level of trauma, sometimes a certain level of suppression, and sometimes there's beautiful, amazing past lives too, where we do feel an aspect of our full expression. So those are beautiful too, and when working in the Akashic Records we can start to unravel some of that as well. But in terms of past experiences, we have made choices as divine beings having a physical experience, right? Even in past lives, even where the feminine sometimes felt very limited in her role within the home or in relationships or in society, there were still often, within even sometimes the trauma or the suppression, there were choices made. Choices, right? As divine beings in this human experience, we have access to free will and free choice, and it's the choices that we make within those experiences that will create blocks. And those blocks are held at soul level, and then very often create experiences that play out in this current reality. So I want to jump into the Akashic Records and how this all ties into this, and hopefully those of you who will watch and who are watching, this is all landing and making sense. And part of the reason that I'm sharing this is because I am so passionate about the Akashic Records and working with women. It's something I've been doing for the last 10 years. Over 5,000 Akashic Record sessions working with women, holding space for women to up-level their experience and move through very deep, soulful, feminine transformations over and over again, as well as my own. And so this is something that I know fairly intimate, something that I'm very passionate about sharing, and also something that I'll be teaching in the upcoming Flower of Life Akashic Certification Program that begins next Monday. So if this is speaking to you, let me know, and I'll drop the link below for anyone to further explore. So the Akashic Records. So we've talked a little bit about ancestral feminine lineage. We've talked a little bit about the soul and the, oh hey Nadia, we've talked a little bit about the soul, we've talked about a little bit about our feminine ancestral lineage, and we've talked about the soul, past life experiences, but past life experiences in relation to the feminine and the history of the feminine on the planet, and how through choices that creates blocks, that then creates patterns, that then creates our current experience. Hey Melissa, welcome. So when I talk about the Akashic Records and how this is such a beautiful tool, there are two reasons why it's so powerful. And the Akashic Records, for those of you that don't know, is an ancient source of wisdom and healing. The Akashic Records have been around as this beautiful ancient source of wisdom and healing since virtually the beginning of time. It sits within a fifth dimensional field. Hey, it sits within a fifth dimensional field where we can, when we know how to, and some hands-on healers and some intuitives naturally pull from the Akashic field and from the Akashic Records. But when we know how to access the Akashic Records, we can draw on this ancient source of wisdom and healing for our own soulful evolution. And the Akashic Records actually sit at the fifth dimension, which is the level of the soul. So it gives us a very, very deep healing tool that allows us to assist in our soulful feminine evolution. So we have access to wisdom and healing, and we also have access, because of how old the Akashic Records are, and because every soul has an Akashic Record. The Akashic Record actually contains vibrational information on every choice that a soul has ever made. And so within the Akashic field, we can actually start to uncover and understand different choices that a divine soul, that a soul has made throughout its previous incarnations, that have created these blocks that I was talking about. So not only that, being in the Akashic field, being in the Akashic Records also gives us a very deep and true understanding of the divine feminine. So we have two very deep tools, the Akashic Records, and we have the Akashic Records that gives us this true understanding of our divine nature and the choices that our soul has made through various incarnations, and also a very clear blueprint, a clear understanding of the true nature of the divine feminine. So when we're working at the level of the soul now, at the very base, we have a very, very clear blueprint that allows us to clear out all of the blocks that don't serve our highest evolution, and also simultaneously allows us and supports us to clearly realign to more of our true divine feminine power and to more of our true soulful power and nature. So that is a little bit about the Akashic Records and why it's so powerful. So I wanted to kind of bring this all full circle and how this actually ties into soulful feminine transformation, right? There's so many of us that are feeling that call. We're feeling those desires, that desire to feel a greater sense of expression here in the physical. And we're feeling that call to step out in bigger ways, to play a little bit more boldly, to really allow our authentic feminine self to have a say in how we dream our world into being. So that's always the very beginning. That sense of that call and that desire is really how our essence and our feminine self speaks to us. So that really, just acknowledging that and being able to land in that. And then the next step is really to say yes, to claim it. That is one of the most powerful things we can do. So when we look at where we are in our current experience, and we've really identified that we're in this place of wanting to grow, and we're being called, and we're feeling that desire, and we say yes, we are essentially sitting in one vibration. It's a current vibrational reality, right? So we have a sense of who we're being called to be. There's a bigger vision of who we're being called to be, a more fully expressed version, a woman who's more rooted in her creative sexual power, who's more fully expressed in her gifts, in her authentic truth, who's more unapologetic in her beauty, right? And she's taking up more space with all of those different facets of herself. But at the time where we're just feeling the call and we're just tapping into the desire, we're essentially in one vibrational reality. We have yet to grow into that woman who is fully embodied in who we're being called to be yet. So there has to be a journey that needs to be done. And that is the journey of transformation. So the Akashic Records become a brilliant tool, a sacred ally for sacred women who are just us living in this modern world, and we're really feeling that call to step into more of our evolution. The Akashic Records become a beautiful ally, a beautiful sacred tool that can assist us in moving from that one vibrational set point, vibration A, I like to call it, just where we are now. We're feeling the call, we have the desire, we're not there yet, there's a gap between where we are now and where we want to be, and the Akashic Records become this tool that allows us to move beyond any version of ourselves that we've ever known ourselves to be. And often it's any version of who our lineage, our feminine lineage, has ever known themselves to be, right? So we're not only, oftentimes as women who feel this call to step into a greater, fuller expression, authentic expression of who they're called to be, we're not just doing this work for ourselves, we're often doing this work for our lineage and for our daughters. So the Akashic Records help us untangle past blocks at soul level, but also, and then realign to more of our true divine nature, but also gives us that blueprint for the divine feminine, so we can clear out all the ancestral patterns and programs and beliefs and blocks that we may be carrying forward. And then simultaneously, we can draw on some more empowered stories to create a powerful foundation that supports this transformation from moving from the vibrational set point A to vibrational set point B, which is where we have done a journey. We have done a journey. And a journey can be, depending on how big a vision is, depending on how big the desire is that's coming through. A journey could be, in the scope of a single session. Right, for some women, they're just right on this edge of stepping more fully into something they've been calling in and working on for a while. And it's not that we can't get to a lot of these blocks and these imprints and illusions and patterns that I'm talking about. We can. It just often takes a lot longer. And because the Akashic Records are such a deep healing tool, we can go in at the very deepest level and clear it out quickly, and clear it out at a subconscious soul level cellular aspect. So all of a sudden, the old energy, the old block, rooted at soul level, is cleared out, and we get this upgrade to more of our true divine feminine soul blueprint. And now the old energy's gone, and we've got a new frame of reference for what it is that we can step more fully into, and we can feel more ease and grace as we step forward into more of that transformation. I find with the Akashic Records, especially if there is a big calling and we're in vibration A and we have that gap and we see the big picture, but we're not quite there because we are being called, that oftentimes the Akashic Records can facilitate several different clearing sessions, several different points on our path where we can clear out the old and integrate and more fully activate and embody the new divine feminine soul blueprint, right? That allows us to then continue on with our journey until we hit the next layer through transformation. And then we bring the Akashic Records in and go in and clear it out until step by step, energetically we're clearing out the old, and then step by step we're integrating and taking the new steps until we become fully embodied in that beautiful vibration B, where we can look around and realize that every desire, the desire that we had in that bigger calling now, because we've worked with the right vibrational tools and we've taken aligned steps, which again, the Akashic Records, because it's an ancient source of wisdom and healing, and we're working at the level of the soul, you get very clear insights and action steps on how to move forward into more of your evolution. So then as the circle comes, as the transformation comes full circle, we're landing in this vibration B, where we have experienced this, we have risen. We're in a new vibration of radiance, and we're embodied more fully in that woman that we were being called to be. When we are embodied in a new vibrational set point, vibration B, when we are embodied, that is where the new has no choice but to manifest. We have become a vibrational match to that woman that we were being called to be. And from there, when we look around and we see in our reality that every desire in the soul's calling, it is now manifested. That is a soulful feminine transformation that has now come full circle. It has now come full circle. And it can really work like that when you have clarity, when you have alignment, when you understand how to work at the level of the soul. It can really work like that, and it doesn't have to take years and years and years feeling lost in an endless spiral of being pulled here and there. When you really understand the nature of feminine transformation with the right tools, it can work very quickly within the scope of 6 months or a year, or sometimes 3 months, depending on what the desire of the transformation is. So I wanted to share this with you. I've been popping into the Facebook group every Wednesdays, offering little love drops of the Akashic wisdom. And so a lot of you are probably feeling that guidance and that wisdom and that love. It gives you that sense of clarity, and it opens up the next step. And that's the power of the Akasha. The Akasha. That is the power of the Akasha. So next Wednesday, we begin the live training for the Flower of Life Akashic Certification Program. I don't teach this program live all the time, but I am this time. And I'm inviting 12 women in. 3 spots have already been filled. So I'm inviting 12 women in for this live training, this live certification program, where I'm going to give you this process and these tools for working with the Akashic Records from a divine feminine perspective. When you leave, you will have the tools to navigate your own soulful feminine transformation, and to also assist other women who are really feeling that call beyond their feminine lineage, right? We need the tools and the support at this time. We need to be able to support other women who are feeling that call so that they can feel empowered as they move beyond the edge of anything their feminine lineage has ever experienced up to now. These are very, very exciting times. So if this interests you, I'm going to drop the link below. But if you have any questions about this, please ask them below. If you want to reach out on Messenger and just let me know if you have any questions there, great. If not, we begin next Wednesday, and the link is tarapreston.com/Akashic Certification. I'm sending you all so much full moon love. Bye-bye for now.